All right, everyone, welcome back to the On the Line podcast. I am your host, Noel Alberto, with my co host, Oliver Dixon Jefford. Oliver, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you now?
Good, good. It's been a while since we potted, but we are back, and we're going to start on a very somber note. Earlier this morning, Jana Novotna, a, a career slam champion in doubles, Wimbledon champion in 1998 in singles, passed away at the age of 49 due to cancer. Obviously, Oliver, she's in the International Tennis Hall of Fame, inducted in 2005. So I know we were a bit young when her career really took off, but any words to say about Jana Novotna?
It was actually her who won Wimbledon the year I was born, 1998, and it's incredibly sad that she's so young and then to succumb to this awful illness. And obviously, no one knew, so I think it's very dignified the way she handled it. She kept it private. She also didn't want any of the attention. I didn't realise, but she was actually at the Laver Cup in Prague. Obviously, she's Czech early this year, obviously, so kept making public appearances for as long as she could. But it's a very sad loss, and you can see that on a lot on Twitter and like comments on sports articles today. A lot of people, especially in this country, really warmed her because of it. Wimbledon obviously had the heartbreaking loss in 1993. Wimbledon final was 4-1, 40-30 up.
Yeah.
Double break, and Steffi Graf lost that final. And obviously the famous image of her, crying to the Duchess of Kent, one of the most popular royals in this country as well at that time. That endeared her to a lot of people. And then, to lose the final again 4 years later to Hingis when she was a setup, and then to finally take the Wimbledon title towards the end of her career after achieving so much in doubles. It was an amazing moment. I think a really memorable triumph. And it's incredibly sad that she's not going to be around anymore because, she often played in the Legends doubles events. I know she's played with like Martina Navratilova, who's made a statement in the past couple of hours expressing her sadness. A lot of people have as well. So it's just very sad, but I just hope she kind of knew how popular and how respected she was.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. I know cancer is obviously a tough way to go, but like you said, very, she was very quiet about it, very dignified. I mean, no one really knew. Like you said, she was at the Laver Cup a couple months ago, and so just thinking about that was like it's like a whirlwind of things. But yeah, you mentioned it, the 1993 final. Up 4-1, 40-30 against Steffi Graf, and then Graf took the next 5 games, and you had such memorable picture of her crying into the Duchess of Kent's shoulder, and she said, I was reading The Guardian earlier this morning before we potted, and she was saying that even though she lost that final and she looked at the papers the next day, she said she felt like a winner because it showed like even though they're world-class athletes and everything, that they're still human and they have a human side, and that her emotional breakdown into the Duchess of Kent's shoulder showed that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's probably one of Wimbledon's more iconic images. As the tennis journalist Mike Dixon wrote earlier today, it's in a way it's kind of a shame that image is remembered more than her actually winning, because her reaction when she beat Tozier in the 1998 Wimbledon final was something memorable as well. But like I said, indeed, a lot of people do her, and throughout that championship, by what I've read and by clips I've seen on YouTube, whatever, the crowd were really rooting her on, and she really was a popular champion. And clearly, as we've seen today, well loved by everyone. And it is such a shame. It's a real shame.
It's a real shame. So hopefully, I mean, I feel like there'll be obviously a lot of, there are already obviously a lot of like people like dedicated, like talking about her, but I'm feeling there's going to be something named after her in her memoriam.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't something at Wimbledon next year, like paying tribute to her. I know when Elena Baltacha sadly died a few years ago, I think that's around in the springtime. Wimbledon that year, they had a special tribute to her on the Tuesday, when obviously the defending champion plays. Obviously that year, Bartley retired, so Luzicki was playing. But I had one of the ball girls from her academy doing the coin toss and had like a moment of remembrance for her. And I dare say they will do something like that next year, because obviously she was a very popular, like I said, champion. It would also be the 20th anniversary of her win. And I'm sure a lot of people will be there to pay respects and to remember her.
Yep, 20th anniversary, and be a great timing to attribute something to Miss Jana Novotna, who she can rest in peace without having to fight this awful sickness of cancer anymore. But now we move on to, from the tears of Novotna from '93 to the tears of Dimitrov, who goes undefeated at the ATP World Tour Finals in London to claim the biggest title of his career over David Goffin. It was a high-quality final, much opposite to the round-robin match where it was love and two to the Bulgarian. But obviously, both these men had such spectacular weeks. But we have to start off with Dimitrov, who's now world number 3 and surely he has won every kind of title now, has to kick off and finally win that Grand Slam. Right, Oliver?
You'd think so. I mean, I'm incredibly happy for him, because obviously if you go back to like 2014, and even before that, he was incredibly hyped up. He was going to be the next big thing. And it didn't quite happen. And obviously we don't know why. It might have been the pressure. It might have just been other people overtook him in terms of playing ability. But I can imagine that he went under a lot of criticism for that. A lot of people that like writing him off, like questioning whether he would do that. And it must have been upsetting and frustrating for him. So I think this season hasn't always been perfect. Let's be honest. He's been through a couple of rough patches, didn't perform well. The US Open lost early to Rublev. French Open made the 3rd round, which is actually only his joint best career showing there. So there's work there. But, 2nd week at Wimbledon, semi-final in Australia, nearly beat Rafa there. Incredible semi-final match. Probably my personal match of the year.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the future pods.
Yeah.
Our own awards for the year.
Yeah, so at least one of them is certainly up there for me. But yeah, the first Masters 1000 title. I think without dropping a set in Cincinnati, and then undefeated this week and played the best tennis of anyone. Obviously, he had a tight match in the final against Goffin, tight match.
In his opening match with Team.
Team, yeah, 7-5 in the 3rd. But he always, he did play the best tennis. So it's a very deserved victory this week. Obviously, we can talk about, in terms of that and him finishing world number 3, as saying, obviously Nadal pulled out the tournament. Obviously,
he didn't play Federer.
Other people weren't there for various reasons, like your Murrays, your Djokovic's, your Rinkas, Varnic, Nishikori. But he managed to stay fit and healthy throughout the whole season, and he really deserves it. And like you said, obviously, you would say 3rd seed usually gets you a good draw in the majors with the likes of your Djokovic and Murray Wawrinka.
Yeah,
it's just probably lower down. There's going to be some brutal draws for someone when the Australian Open comes around. You don't know who, but I think he could. I'm not sure if he'll necessarily win a slam next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he made a final, either in Australia or Wimbledon. I think he's got a real shot. Probably Australia when early on in the season, and maybe the other people aren't as playing as well yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an incredible season for Dimitrov. I mean, first Masters title in Cincy. He didn't cry there. I was there sitting courtside for that one. He did not cry there, but after clinching this on, I mean, what could have been an easy backhand volley to get it back to deuce for Goffin, but still, it was an incredible moment of, like we said with Novotna, it was like the human side just fell to the ground and in tears. He said he's just been working so hard and with everything, and the partnership with Danny Valverdue is obviously doing him wonders for a career season with a semifinal in Australia, and then first Masters, and then going unbeaten in London, so 1,500 points. So it's been a phenomenal week. And you said it. He's played the best tennis. Like, we had Federer here, we had Sasha here, we had the best 8 players, I mean, in the world, and he was the one who routinely produced the best tennis, but week in or not week in, week out, but like throughout the week, even in those tight matches against Team and then Sock. I mean, the only time I really had doubts about him was when he was serving it out up 5-3 versus Sock when he couldn't buy a first serve. But other than that, Dimitrov has played some excellent tennis this weekend. I'm really hoping he finally kicks on and wins that Grand Slam title. And it might not be next year, but the Big Four can't be here forever, as we always say, even though Fed and Nadal have turned the clock back about, 10 years this year? It's 2020. If it's not 2018, it's surely 2019, 2020, something like that for Dimitrov.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We look at, obviously, Nadal, I believe the oldest ever UN #1 at the age of 31. I think that's the case. Obviously, Federer winning slams at 35. Obviously, like US Open quarterfinalists at 36. You know, he has time. He has time. Back in the day, a lot of people, like, you'd won your slams by the time you were 26. That was it. And then there was like some 17-year-old coming along. And obviously, we know it's not like that anymore. As we've seen with Wawrinka, at first triumph in Australia, he was 28. And obviously, he built on that, and he's won 2 more slam titles since then. And obviously, reached the French Open final again this year. So he does have a lot of time. If it doesn't come next year, that's not necessarily the end. And, next year is going to be incredibly interesting. Is debate. I wonder if Federer and Nadal can maintain that level. I think obviously Nadal's going to be a huge favourite for the French Open, whatever. But you've got Djokovic, Murray, Wawrinka coming back, Dimitrov there, Zverev looking for him to play well at the slams. He could have a shot. Same with Team as well. Can he have a more consistent overall season? So yeah, it's incredibly exciting. And then you've got also the likes of Stock and Goffin who've done well this tournament. Can they feature in there if the tournament opens up a little?
Yeah, we'll get to Jack Sock in a little, but I definitely think Goffin has proven that he can hang in with the big boys. I mean, 3 sets with – I mean, if you realistically look at throughout that whole match, you could arguably say Goffin should have won the title and should have finished the year at number 5. But obviously, Dimitrov pulled it out in the end, but Goffin proved that he could hang. I mean, best of 5, maybe it's a different story, but no one gave him a shot versus Federer. And then even I was saying when I was working, I was telling my coworker, because match was on TV, we're like, hey, I'm like, oh, look, Goffin breaks early in the third. This is when Federer will break again to win. Never happened. Goffin kept his nerve on those big points. Federer wasn't as aggressive, but Goffin was more aggressive than we've usually seen, and he took advantage of the non-aggressive Federer going for like huge cross-court angles, up the line shots. Like Goffin was brilliant this week in that Federer match. Complete opposite of where he was in that Nadal match, where he was struggling to serve it out, had match points in that second set. Like, then he got blasted by Dimitrov. So like it was a complete turnaround over like a 3-4 day span.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I remember looking on Twitter after he had obviously on Friday after he got through to the semi-finals. Obviously beat Team quite impressively. I think something like 6-4, 6-1, something like that. It was fairly one-sided. He said, I don't have a clue how I'm going to play Federer. 6-love against him. I think only ever won 1 or 2 sets. And then, he came and played a very good match. And I mean, obviously, as you said, he was completely destroyed by Dimitrov in the group. But he played just as well as he did against Nadal. Obviously, struggled a bit there. It's always difficult playing Nadal. Always difficult playing an injured player as well that can throw you mentally. I think a lot of people forget that. But yeah, after losing that first set against Federer. He was just a completely different player, and obviously made the final against Dimitrov a lot more competitive and a lot more entertaining than obviously their first match early on in the week. So I think, considering he had his own injury problems this year, obviously that awful slip at the French Open, withdrew from there, withdrew from Wimbledon, for him to come back with his first titles in 3 years and then to reach the final in London, I think it's been very impressive for him.
Yeah, very much so. And then you mentioned Jack Sock, who had the big week in Paris, obviously the title, and he played pretty impressively this week too. Obviously, we know that backhand wing is a lot weaker than that forehand side, but the backhand held its own for most of the week because everyone was targeting that. And I think if Sock can improve that a little more, we could see him make that run in slams, because I believe nothing past the third round this year for Sock.
I don't think so. I don't think he performed that well at the slams. No, I'm not sure.
Let me check. Yeah, nothing past the third round, which came at the beginning of the year in Australia. So, but yeah, if a good start for next year for Sock, if maybe a strong opening tournament and maybe like Brisbane, or I think he's playing Hopman Cup. So, but maybe a strong showing in Hopman Cup, and then maybe make the quarters of Australia. So that'd definitely be a boost to him, because he does have a lot of points to defend when it comes to the first two Masters in a semifinal and a quarterfinal. But
also Delray Beach title to defend as well.
Yeah, so a lot of things to defend for Sock in February and March, but I feel like he's someone who can actually kick on, and maybe you, like you said with Dimitrov, maybe not next year, but in a few years we could see Sock winning a Grand Slam title.
I think potentially, yeah. I think I see Dimitrov as more likely to.
Yeah, definitely more likely.
I think so, because obviously Dimitrov's not got the perfect game, but he's got a more complete game than Sock.
Yeah, very much.
Overall. I mean, neither of them have, I would say, amazing backhands. I think Dimitrov has a slightly better one. But I think potentially, yeah, I mean, it is very open. And I mean, we've obviously had Federer and Djokovic recently sweeping up God knows how many titles. I'm not necessarily sure if there's going to be many people like that in the next decade or so, winning like 15 odd majors. So I think there will be more opportunities. I can see potentially he could pick up a couple, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the singles portion. So congrats again to Dimitrov, Goffin for a world-class final. And then we move to the doubles, where Henri Continent and Jean Piers defend their title, absolutely putting on a world-class showcase over doubles team, year-end #1, and the top seed of the tournament, Kubat Melo. And man, I mean, I didn't get to see this final, but it was, I saw some highlights, but it was a masterclass from these two to defend their title.
Well, yeah, I can't remember exactly what tournament it was, but obviously yesterday in London, I think they won 6-4, 6-2. They beat them by the same scoreline, I think in Shanghai or in China as well. So obviously 2 impressive wins for them in a row against them, and an impressive season overall. Obviously they won back in Australia early on in the year, a little bit of a downturn after that, but picked it up over the summer. So yeah, very good year, and obviously one great image of, I think it was Continent's baby in the trophy as well, which was quite funny.
Oh yeah,
one of my personal highlight images of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I like to personally thank myself for Continent's career taking off. No, I'm kidding, because since I have interviewed him, and since my interview with him last July, he's gone on to win what you said, an Australian and then 2 tour finals titles. So Henry, I'm waiting for my thank you card in the mail. But I mean, other than Kubat Melo, but no one, I mean, this is what I said in our preview pod for the tour finals, is doubles is such a crapshoot. And I know we had 3 of the top 4 teams, but Harrison and Venus, who are the 8th seed, got in mostly based off their merits of winning the French Open title, 2,000 points. but they were brilliant in the group stages. A little overwhelmed by Kubat Melo in the semifinal, but some props to them for some fantastic tennis this week.
Yeah, that is really surprising. I mean, we both kind of ruled them out looking at that group, but obviously, I think the only team to go flawless in the group stage.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, very impressive. It bodes well for next year if they're going to keep playing together as well.
Yeah, and maybe like how Sock improved his singles game after obviously playing a lot of doubles with Pospisil. Maybe Harrison can kick off a little more. I know he's like around his career high in 50, but I feel like if he attacks the net more, kind of like something with Sock, I feel like Harrison singles career we could finally see him. He won't live up to the potential of like that next great American already about like 25. Yeah, he's 25 years old, so we're not gonna see him live up to that potential. But maybe we could see him win a few more singles titles than.
Yeah, I think there's potential for him to do more with his singles career. Absolutely, obviously, you have to hope that confidence of winning a Grand Slam in doubles. Yeah, I think he's certainly got top 20, maybe even top 10 if he plays well. I think Slam would be pushing it now. And like I said, it's not going to be this next great American to do dubbed. Obviously, so many people are dubbed to be the next great. Whoever, they don't fulfill that. But yeah, I think he can get closer to that. I think he can improve.
Yeah, very much so. So brilliant week in London as the ATP finally caps off their year. But we're gonna do a nice little look back because it's been a while since we've podded. So a look back at the Fed Cup where the United States edged Belarus in a tight 3-2 affair in Minsk. No Aza, no problem as Sabalenka and Sasnovich force both defeat Sloane Stephens, who still has yet to win since her U.S. Open title. But some positive signs with her taking sets and leading I mean, not positive that she blew that, but was it like 4-1, 5-1 third set lead?
I think it's 5-2.
Yeah, something like that against Sasnovich. Like, I mean, that's not positive, but like we're seeing that the positive attitude, the aggression that we know of Sloane, but obviously the talking point is ITF specialist Coco Vandeweghe unbeaten in Fed Cup this year, two slam semifinals. So, but first time since 2000. So that means the first time this decade that the United States have captured the Fed Cup.
I mean, it was a very good final, which is obviously what you hope. Went down to the deciding rubber. Yeah, he said first title for America since 2000. I believe it was the first time since 2003, I think it was, that neither the Czech Republic, Russia, or Italy have won the Fed Cup. So it was a big change. So, yeah, but as you said, Vandeweghe obviously only won WTA Tour final in Stamford, where she lost to Madison Keys, but she 8-love in the Fed Cup this year across singles and doubles. Quarter-final at Wimbledon, semi-final at Australian Open and the US Open. And yeah, obviously it's not responsible for the Australian Open because they weren't partnered up then, but Pat Cash has done a really good job with her so far. And I think that's a partnership that could stay for a while.
Yeah, very much so. Great final. And then the reaction was priceless between Rogers and Vandeweghe after they clinched it. Just throws the racket up in the air. And you knew how much it meant to them. And new captain, Kathy Rinaldi.
Absolutely. I mean, it was obviously very tight, as it could have been expected, obviously playing away from home, but they handled, especially Vandeweghe, obviously 2 singles rubbles and that doubles, handled her energy levels and her composure extremely well. And yeah, so it was well-deserved title, especially because a lot of pressure on Rogers going into that match as well, obviously having not played over the weekend. And obviously her one tie, deciding whether they win or lose. So they both handled the pressure of that match quite well.
Yep, and so So congrats again to the United States on our little predictions, which we'll get to. We both had that, and boy, our World Tour final predictions are very bad, but that's because the Dawa drew. So thanks, Rafa. No, I'm kidding. But we'll get to that in a second. And now another look back at someone kind of like Dimitrov, who had a brilliant week in a tour final of his own, Mr. Hyun Chung, unbeaten in Milan during the ATP NextGen finals. And I feel like 2018 is where he could kick off to finally get to that first tour level title or even tour level final, and maybe crack into that top 30 and really start making what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, not dividends.
Making ground.
Yeah, making ground in his young career. What a brilliant week for the South Korean in Milan a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always felt that his injuries have held him back a little bit, but he finally got that week to show off his talent, and which is good because I feel the likes of Rublev, Shapovalov, Koric, Kachanov, who are obviously all there, maybe a bit heralded a bit more. Yeonchong's maybe the unsung hero, so it was a really nice to see him winning every match, making a real name for himself, making more people aware of him, because he's probably equally as talented as a lot of the guys I just mentioned, and he deserves to be talked about just as much. So yeah, brilliant week for him.
Yeah, I mean, took it to Rublev in their round robin, and then after dropping the first set tiebreak 5-7, he just took off, just completely overpowered the top seed in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that was to beat him twice was incredible. I mean, like he said, the group stage victory was incredibly one-sided. So yeah, it was just a really solid week for him. And like you said, it'd be nice to see him and a couple of the others there as well, pushing on. I know, for example, like Jared Donaldson didn't have a great tournament, but I don't think he should be too disheartened necessarily. A lot of fatigue is involved or whatever. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these guys do. I think the early stages of the season could be quite important.
Yeah, very much so. And then the Italian wildcard, Gianluigi Quinzi, I know we both had our doubts of him being in the tournament, but he showed that he's still a player. I mean, what was it, five sets against two of them, and then two tie breaks against Shapovalov. So he showed that he could hang in with these guys, and I feel like a little positivity for him.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't disgrace himself. Having a look now, obviously he finished last in his group, but 5 sets against Rublev, 4 sets against Shapovalov, 5 sets against Chung, the final set tiebreak against Chung as well. So yeah, he didn't disgrace himself at all. I think it would have been more interesting had they had someone like TFO in there.
Oh yeah,
but, yeah. I think obviously he didn't win a match, but he did, in a way, maybe justify the choice for him.
Yeah, very much so. And I do think maybe maybe going the home wild card isn't always the best route. Obviously, you have a lot of tour level events to be doing that for. Maybe someone more deserving, but I think overall, even though there are a lot of rule changes, I mean, watching the ATP World Tour Finals made me I was always against the no ad scoring, but just you're not gonna get any. You're gonna get so much more drama with ad scoring. So no ad scoring, not my way to go. The fast four format, not my way to go. But small things like shot clock, the little headset to talk to your coach. I think those are some innovations that I'm sure both of us could agree that could help tennis go forward with.
Yeah, I do agree with you about the fast four and the no ads. I don't think that's a good idea. We didn't hear much about the shot clock, which is clearly a good thing, I think, because it clearly wasn't much of an issue for anyone. If it's not that much of an issue, it's not bothering anyone. Didn't cause any disagreements. I think that's something that could be introduced. It seemed to work fairly well. So yeah, it's and obviously on-court coaching. I still kind of.
I mean, it's not on. I mean, I think it's better than the WTA.
I have an issue with coaching. I think tennis is meant to be an individual sport.
Yeah, that's fair.
Individual sport for a long time. Players should be able to work out themselves. And I do think some players, obviously, it's notable because in the WTA you're allowed on-court coaching.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit too reliant on it. But I think if you're going to have coaching, I think it's better to have a headset than to have make the coach walk on court and make the coach get mic'd up and whatever. I think that's an easier way to do it. So I think if they want to have on-court coaching, have that. And obviously the US Open qualies, they had the thing if you could shout out and make signals. I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh, that's a horrible idea.
If you're going to have coaching on court or not, if you're going to have coaching mid-match, it should be during the change of ends with the headset.
Yeah.
It's quite simple to do.
Quite simple, and brought up some great conversations. I remember reading on Twitter, Shapovalov was talking to his coach about how he had some coffee and a croissant for €2. He's like, oh, I had 2 croissants and a couple cups of coffee or for €2. He's like, I love this place. I was like, see, I mean, you're not always talking about coaching, have a little fun, relax a little. So I definitely think it's a lot better than the WTA on-court coaching where whenever they zoom in, all seriousness most of the time, or if you have who was it, Putin Seva saying to her coach, "What's wrong with you?" You'll have things like that. You'll have a little have fun here and there, but I definitely think headset is the way to go because so only you hear what your coach is saying. Maybe you don't have some secret spy right behind the opponent and getting all their information and then, hey, hit to that backhand or something. So,
yeah, I mean, I think obviously if they're going to do it, it should be private as well. So I think that's the way the headset is the best way. I've just always had it's been weird to see a coach run on court.
Yeah.
Obviously it's mic'd up, so it's kind of manufactured. They know what they're going to say. Obviously there's been issues to the past. I think it's Sam Sumick has obviously muffled his microphone so they can't hear.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think if they're going to do it, it should be headsets.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we had Dimitrov get a warning earlier in the tour finals this week because Valverde said, "Hey, hit it to the forehand," and he's like, "Warning for me," and he's like, "But I didn't hear him." He's like, "Yeah, I believe it was either Bernardes or Lehani or one of those high quality chair umpires." They're like, "Yeah, you didn't hear him, but the line judge heard him, so I have to give you a warning." So, Valverde, work on that, buddy. So, yeah. So, taking a look at our spreadsheet, obviously we have one more set of things to pick is the Davis Cup final, but our picks for Milan were pretty bad. I mean, I'll recap. I had Shapovalov, Rublev, Donaldson, Chorich get out of the group stage. I only had 2, so yeah, rough day there. And then I had Rublev in the final, so I had him winning likewise as you. So 3 points for me there. Oliver did better with Rublev, Chung, and George advancing for him. So props for you for picking at least the finalists to get through, or the winner to get through out of the group stage, unlike me. I went Donaldson, 1 for 9 in sets, 0 for 3. That's all you need to know how bad it was for me. But you had 3. You had Rublev in the final, so you pick up a point on me there. And then, oh boy, our picks for the London groups. I mean, Dimitrov got out, Federer got out, so that's 2 points for us there. each. And yeah, we have nothing else in the semifinals and final because I had Federer, Dimitrov, Zverev over Nadal, Federer over Zverev, and you had Federer, Dimitrov, Nadal over Zverev, Federer over Nadal. So yeah, for once we were in for a nice little surprise seeing the 6 versus the 7 in the championship rather than the 1 versus 2 or the 1 versus 3. So nice little surprise there. All right, in the doubles, we both had in order Murray, Suarez, Kubat. Oh, you had Kubat, Melo first, but we both got them out. And then we both had Content and Piers out. So that's 3 for us. We both had the Kubat, Melo finalists. So but we didn't have any of the winner. Dang it, Jamie, let me down. So we each picked up, what is it? 1, 2. We each picked up 5 points from London and then an extra point from Fed Cup. So in our total, you've picked up ground. So let's do some maths, as you Brits say. I off topic. I saw an article. It was on BuzzFeed. It's like 36 questions that foreigners have for Americans, and one of them was from the UK. Oliver, it was, why do they say math when it's mathematics? So it's maths. So I was like, oh, I can't answer that for you. 1912.
It is a bugbear for a lot of people in this country. Why you gotta say math? But,
oh no, I can't explain it. I was just brought up that way. So after 5 weeks, 48 9. I have 57. Oliver has 52, and then we will preview the Davis Cup final next. So obviously it's mathematically impossible for Oliver to catch me. So I win this nice little 6-pod run of predictions. But I think next year, obviously we'll have our first Grand Slam. So we'll pick from quarterfinal. We'll take 8 quarterfinalists, work our way down, all that fun stuff. But I think we could do a little something where we could throw like a double points on someone if they do well. So kind of like picking your captain in fantasy footy.
Yeah.
And maybe we could also talk about some of that fantasy tennis league that it's been pretty popular this year. Started by the Australian Open, and the Australian Open series. So if you do well, you'd be in Australia heading in January. So maybe something we could also talk about, maybe write about. But now we move on to the Davis Cup final, where it will be. It's in Lille, right?
Yes, Lille.
Lille, France, and we have Belgium and Goffin, the tireless wonder man who's played every week since the U.S. Open. God bless this man's soul. Is now playing in the Davis Cup final to cap off a fantastic season to see if he can lead Belgium. What would be their first ever Davis Cup title in 95 years. So we shall see. The Belgium team, very simple. It will be Goffin, Darcy, Bemmelmans, and Arthur de Grief. And then the French team will be Songa, Luca Puy, and then Mahou and Herbert, who are slight doubts because of Herbert's injury that he picked up at the Nito ATP finals. But this will be in Lille. Do you remember what surface this was?
It's
indoor hard?
I think indoor hard, yeah.
Okay, indoor hard. So knowing the form from the indoor hard season, I mean, Goffin did brilliantly, but we don't know how the rest of his teammates did. Songa and Puy did pretty well. Obviously, they played each other in the Vienna final. But who tickles your fancy to take home the Davis Cup title? Will it be France, their first title since 2001? So if we had a Fed Cup champion first since 2000, do we have a Davis Cup champion first since 2001, or do we have a first-timer? Oh, this plays out pretty close to the Fed Cup final, I just realized. Either the first-time champion or end the drought since the early 2000s of the powerhouses. Amazing how it all just comes full circle. But yes, who do you fancy, France or Belgium?
I'm thinking more France. If I'm going to be honest, I think if Herbert and Mahou are there, they haven't had their best season, but I think they obviously should pick up a rubber. The singles ties are pretty hard to call, but I can see them being split, so I'm going to edge more towards France taking it. I think it'll be another tight final, but yeah, I think France will win.
I'm expecting a tight final too. I'm expecting Goffin to continue his form, probably win both his rubbers, but I know Davis Cup is known for the massive upsets, but I do not see. I know Darcy is 4-1 in singles, but I just don't see it from him to either beat Tsonga or Pui in either of the rubbers, especially in the raucous atmosphere of being away for this tie. I mean, they've been away for, I think, a couple of the ties, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, no, it's just that obviously Darcy has often played well in the Davis Cup, but I am.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's just obviously Goffin's played a lot of tennis. I'm slightly concerned that if he gets drawn into like a 5-set match, how much energy he'll have, especially against someone maybe like Tsonga, who hasn't played in a while. So yes, I am leaning towards France.
I do want to see a first-timer win it. So, but I'm feeling with the home edge, and like you said, if Habu, oh boy, that was so bad. Mahou and Herbert win are there. I feel like they'll be the likely one. They will capture the title. I mean, if no Herbert, it's likely to be Mahou Beneteau. Beneteau has played one rubber for doubles this year. So, I mean, not a bad backup. Obviously, coming off the high of his Paris run. So why not a Lille run, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a way to end his career if he does get to play. It's especially if there is obviously injury doubts about Herbert. So we'll have to see.
All right.
I think they'll be hoping that Herbert is fit. They'll be hoping. Obviously, that he did probably make the right decision of withdrawing from London. Obviously, they're already out of that tournament, so there's no point of them risking injury to risk winning a big title like the Davis Cup.
Yeah. So yeah, that is our Davis Cup final preview. So our next pod will obviously talk about the Davis Cup final, but what do you want to do next, Oliver? Do you want to do some season reviews? Do you want to do a little have our personal awards for the year, like stories of the year, things like that? I'll let you pick.
I think awards would be nice. Yeah.
Doing some awards.
Best moment. Yeah.
Yeah, both for the ATP, WTA. We'll obviously post some of these ideas on Twitter. So we're obviously WTA, like best story could be Petra, Sloane, Ostapenko, things like that. So we'll do awards, then we'll do some season grades. So I think that'll give us some differing opinions on where we want to grade like certain players. Like, is Zverev's year an A+, even though he's had such a great year but did nothing in the slams? He said he choked in London in that third set, so is it an A+? Is it an A? Like, obviously, or maybe with like someone like Tsonga, is it like a B year or is it a C year despite like most titles in a year? So I think that will be fun to debate our grades for people after we do the awards.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's a lot of debate about that. So many people had what you could say is weird or bizarre years, and so many like surprise wins, surprise early exits. So I think that'd be interesting debates there.
Yeah, so obviously, even though tennis is soon about to end, tennis doesn't stop for us. And January 1st, all the tournaments, so literally the kickoff of 2018 is when tennis is back in full swing. So we are the On the Line pod. I'm your host, Noel Alberto. You can find me on Twitter at NotFirstNoel. You can find the Twitter pod, the Twitter pod, the Twitter pod at On the Line Pod. Oh wow, it's a later recording time, and I feel a lot more awful for some reason. But Oliver, where can we find you on Twitter?
At Oliver DJ 1998.
Yeah, so you can find him there. You find both of us writing for Babel. We'll have our season reviews up whenever get going on those. And maybe you guys want to chime in on the grades we have for some of what we wrote, but then obviously you won't get to hear what like Oliver would see. So say if I did something on Sasha Zverev, obviously Oliver can't write on Sasha Zverev too, but that's what we have this pod for, to argue about these grades and whatnot. So we are the On the Line pod. We hope you enjoyed us, and we hope to see you next week.